paid when they shall become delinquent, providing for interest and penalty on delinquent taxes and privileges, amending Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 2, Section 267, relative to paid leave for active duty training, and to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 31, Sections 3136, 3137, 3141, and 3143, Sections 31322 and 31354.
Okay, we have Councilwoman Burrs, followed by Councilman Gilbert.
You know, you read that so well. Maybe you ought to read it all over. No. Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Roll call. We'll start with Councilwoman Burrs.
Burrs. Yes. Byrd. Yes. Coonrod. Yes. Gilbert.
Yes.
Henderson.
Yes.
Ledford.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Oglesby.
Yes.
That's all yes.
Thank you. Okay. Now we'll go on to 5B, please.
An ordinance appropriating, authorizing, and allocating funds to the capital improvements budget for the fiscal year 2019-2020.
Thank you. Councilman Burrs, followed by Councilman Gilbert.
Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Roll call vote. Start with Councilman Burrs. Councilwoman Burrs.
Burrs. Yes. Byrd.
Yes.
Coonrod. Gilbert.
Yes.
Henderson.
Yes.
Ledford. Mitchell.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Oglesby.
Yes.
That's all yes.
Thank you. Now we move on to 5C, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone property addressed to Fringe Road, more particularly described herein from A1 Urban Agricultural Zone and R1 Residential Zone to RTZ Residential Townhouse Zero Lot Line Zone, C2 Convenience Commercial Zone, and UGC Urban General Commercial Zone, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Henderson, Vice Chair.
Move approval of alternate version 3, please.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Smith. Questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. D, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone property located at 6421 Bonnie Oaks Drive, more particularly described herein from M3 Warehouse and Wholesale Zone and R3 Residential Zone to M2 Light Industrial Zone, subject to certain conditions.
Councilman Gilbert, followed by Councilwoman Burrs.
Move to approve.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilwoman Burrs. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. E, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 24, Division 8, Section 24507, relative to restricted on-street parking areas.
Yeah. Vice Chair Henderson.
Mr. Chair, this is in your district. I move approval.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Ledford. Questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to ordinances on first reading. Planning item 6A, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 11, Article 20, Short-Term Vacation Rental Certificate, Section 11510, by amending the definition of short-term vacation rental district to adopt a new short-term vacation rental overlay district map for property extended on Seminole to end at 3218 Pinewood Avenue.
Councilwoman Coonrod, followed by Councilman Mitchell. It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Mitchell. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposes nay. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to resolutions. 7A, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a fourth amendment to lease agreement with East Chattanooga LLC in substantially the form attached for senior activity meeting space in a portion of Eastgate Town Center at 5600 Brainerd Road for an additional term for 1 year for the amount of $6,843 per month for a total amount of $82,116 per year.
Councilwoman Burrs, followed by Councilman Gilbert.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. B, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a second amendment to lease agreement and agreement to exercise option to renew in substantially the forms attached with Bessie Smith Cultural Center to include extension of the agreement term to July 1, 2024.
Councilman Byrd.
Move to approve.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Smith. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. C, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic and Community Development to donate 6 youth mountain bicycles to the City of Collegedale Police Department initiative for bicycle and pedestrian safety programs for an estimated total value of $240.
Councilwoman Coonrod. It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Byrd. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. D, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic and Community Development to enter into an agreement with CityView, a division of North Harris Computer Corporation, for cloud hosting services related to the operating system for ECD Code Division for a 1-year period beginning July 1, 2019, and renewable for 2 additional 1-year terms for a total of 3 years for a total amount not to exceed $150,000.
Vice Chairman Henderson. Wait a minute.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you, sir.
you're welcome.
This is an item that also showed up in purchasing that probably needs to go through the purchase department. So at this time, I'm going to make a motion to withdraw this resolution.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Ledford. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. E, please.
A resolution setting a public hearing to establish a downtown central business improvement district pursuant to Tennessee Code annotated section 784-511-2.
What's your pleasure? Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? Roll call. Okay. Let's start with Councilman Smith.
Smith? No. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ledford?
Yes.
Henderson?
Yes.
Gilbert?
No.
Coonrod? Byrd?
Yes.
Burrs? Oglesby?
Yes.
That's 6 yes.
Motion carries. F, please.
A resolution is authorizing the Office of the City Attorney to engage the various law firms listed below for legal services in general litigation matters, corporate, transactional, intellectual property and administrative matters, labor and employment matters, planning and zoning matters, and government relations matters for the period of July 1, 2019 through June 30, 2020.
Councilwoman Burrs, followed by Councilman Smith. It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Smith. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. G, please.
A resolution to confirm the mayor's reappointments of Ronald W. Smith and Trevor F. Ashley to the Beer and Record Board.
Council, what is your pleasure? Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. H, please.
A resolution to confirm the mayor's appointments of Vince Butler and Alicia Ann Pam Thompson to the Beer and Record Board.
Councilman Smith, followed by Councilman Ledford. Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Ledford. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. I, please.
A resolution authorizing the award of contract number R19006-201 to Integrated Properties LLC of Chattanooga, Tennessee, multiple ball field and facility improvements in the amount of $160,905.04 with a contingency in the amount of $20,000 for a total amount of $180,905.04.
Vice Chairman Henderson, followed by Councilwoman Burrs.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded by Councilwoman Burrs. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. J, please.
A resolution authorizing the award of contract number W19002-201 to Tally Construction Company, Inc. of Rossville, Georgia, sanitary sewer installation and repair at ISS and related facilities blanket contract in the amount of $1.5 million.
Okay, Councilman Burrs? Oh, your light was still on. Vice Chairman Henderson.
Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Mitchell. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. K, please.
A resolution authorizing approval of change order number 1 for Barge Design Solutions, Inc. relative to contract number T15013-101, downtown one-way to two-way conversion for an increased amount of $13,553 for a revised contract amount not to exceed $83,053.
Councilman Byrd. It's been moved and properly seconded by Vice Chairman Henderson. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. L, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Transportation to apply for and, if awarded, accept a Section 5310 Enhanced Mobility of Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities grant from the Federal Transit Administration with the city's contribution not to exceed $74,400 for an amount not to exceed $372,000.
Council, what is your pleasure?
Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries. Now we move on to purchases. Ms. Woodruff.
Good evening. First, we have one emergency purchase to report to you tonight on behalf of the Transportation Department, and I'll ask the administrators to join me, please. It was for the emergency purchase of slope failure stabilization awarded to Remco Geotechnical Contractors, Inc., and a total purchase amount of up to $2.5 million. This was for the purpose of stabilizing and repairing the slope failures that occurred on Elder Mountain Road. Next, for your consideration, our regular purchases. First, on behalf of the Information Technology Department, we have 3 purchases. First, the blanket contract extension for Verizon Wireless High-Speed and Cell Voice and Data Services to be awarded to Verizon Wireless in an estimated annual amount of $250,000. Next, a new blanket contract for CityView Platform Hosting to be awarded to Harris Computer Corporation in an estimated annual amount of $70,000. Next, a new blanket contract for RecTrack Software and Hosting to be awarded to Vermont Systems, Inc. in an estimated annual amount of $40,000. Next, on behalf of the Police Department, we have 2 purchases. First, the new blanket contract for Adams Arms AR-15 rifles to be awarded to Adams Arms LLC in an estimated annual amount of $35,000. Next, a blanket contract renewal for janitorial services for the Police Service Center Complex to be awarded to Metro Janitorial Service, Inc. in an estimated annual amount of $62,000. Next, on behalf of the Human Resources Department, we have a new blanket contract for stop-loss insurance to be awarded to Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee, DBA Blue Re of Tennessee, in an estimated annual amount of $65,000, excuse me. Next, on behalf of the Department of Youth and Family Development, we have 2 purchases. First being the renewal of the blanket contract for food and kitchen supplies to be awarded to Wholesale Company, Inc. in an estimated annual amount of $270,000, excuse me. Next, 2 new blanket contracts for bus transportation services to be awarded to first, Chattanooga Bus Company, LLC, and second, Sneed Transport, Inc., and a total estimated annual amount of $130,000. The remaining purchases being on behalf of the Public Works Department. First, we have a new blanket contract for lumber and lumber products to to be awarded to Evans Lumber Company in an estimated annual amount of $75,000. Next, a new blanket contract for Peterson Knuckle Boom Loader OEM Parts and Service to be awarded to CMI Equipment Sales, Inc., in an estimated annual amount of $80,000. Next, 3 new blanket contracts for tires for small and light-duty vehicles to be awarded to first Highland Tire and Auto, Inc., next, but Best One Tire, and finally, East Ridge Fast Lube, in a total estimated annual amount of $600,000. Next, an increase to the authorized expenditure for roof inspection and repair services, which is awarded to JDH Company, and the revised total estimated annual amount will be $135,000. Next, an increase to the authorized expenditure for liquid sodium bisulfite, which is awarded to Southern Ionics, and a revised total estimated annual amount of $1.25 million. Next, the renewal of the blanket contract for emulsion polymer to be awarded to Solinis LLC, in an estimated annual amount of $800,000. Next, a blanket contract renewal for herbicide treatment to be awarded to Edkey LLC, in an estimated annual amount of $26,000. Next, 3 blanket contract renewals for HVAC service, repairs, equipment, and installation to be awarded first to Mountain City Services, Inc., second Metro Services, Inc., and third W.J. O'Neill Company, in a total estimated annual amount of $2.1 million. Next, 2 blanket contract renewals for GIS application support, GIS system database, for the GIS system database division of Public Works, first being to award to New Origin Systems, Inc., and second, Wood Environmental and Infrastructure Solutions, Inc., in a total estimated annual amount of $140,000. And that concludes our purchases list.
Thank you. Council, what is your pleasure on the purchases? It's been moved and properly seconded by Vice Chair Henderson. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposers, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Under other business, Mr. City Attorney.
Just briefly, wanted to make sure that at least pursuant to section 2-761 of the code here, there was a complaint filed here based upon the charge that there would be some sort of problem ethics-wise with the council chair being involved in any vote on the aspect of River City Company because of a fiduciary obligation of the council chair in that entity. We have sent that out for investigation and for recommendation to outside counsel, and have determined that there was no such violation of the ethics code at this point. I'm supposed to report that to you pursuant to section 2-761B of the code, doing so in connection with this case. And if anyone determines that there is some sort of complaint that has merit, then y'all have to make a decision on that. But I just wanted to make sure I'd reported that during this meeting, because the code says it's supposed to be reported to you and presented to you at the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Is there any other business? Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am going to put into nomination tonight the name of Kay Baker to serve on the Police Advisory and Oversight Board, and I would ask that or humbly ask that the council confirm my nomination.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay.
Thank you, council.
Motion carries. Thank you. Is there any other business? Now we'll move on to committee reports. Councilwoman Burrs.
On.
You got it.
On now?
You're on.
All right. Yeah, well, with the second and final vote for the operational budget and the capital budget, we are now through with budget for another year. And again, thank you very much. You worked hard, we all did, and we can put it to bed now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman, for all the work you've done during this whole process. Councilman Byrd. No report, Chair. Councilwoman Coonrod. No report. Councilman Gilbert. No report. Vice Chair Henderson.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I have no report.
Okay. Whoa, man, that woke me up. Councilman Ledford.
Mr. Chair,
Now
next
that I'm
Tuesday,
woke.
Mr. Chairman, next Tuesday, after way too long, we will have a Planning and Zoning Committee meeting immediately following our agenda session.
Okay, very ever exciting planning and zoning. Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did have a Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting today where we worked on agenda items, and we were also presented by Councilman Smith the potential of a 6-month moratorium on dockless scooters, which we will, I believe, be taking up and voting on next week, as well as an interlocal agreement with between the city and the WWTA, which was brought to us by Councilman Henderson, and I believe we'll be taking that up in 2 weeks, according to our rules. And I'd like to just thank them both for their work and announce we will have another Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mitchell. Councilman Smith. Okay, thank you. Okay, that concludes reports. Now we will move on to recognitions of person wishing to address this council on non-agenda items. Mr. City Attorney, please read the rules.
Yes, sir. At the end of each council meeting, the chair will recognize members of the public that wish to address the council. These are your rules. If you're going to come up to speak, you can only be recognized at the microphone provided for that purpose. You can't have more than 3 minutes to speak. You can only address the council upon matters within their legislative and quasi-judicial authority. Can't be used to the floor to use vulgar language or to obscene language or to personally attack folks as you're going along. Do not use this opportunity to address individual council members, address the council as a whole. You can only speak 2 times in a time period of 30 days. So that's one of the issues that comes up sometimes in our meetings. You have an opportunity to come forward and speak.
Okay, and with the one person that has spoken twice in that 30 days is Ms. Maria Mott.
Yes.
Anybody wish to address the council on non-agenda items?
Hi, my name is Aaliyah.
The list right here. Sir.
This one?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Gotcha. Hi, my name is Aaliyah. I was raised in Chattanooga. I live downtown, District 9, and I work for a small business downtown. I'm nervous to speak to you today because in politics I have found that if you do not agree with something, those in power try to silence you by blackballing your business. However, after doing research, I find it necessary to speak out against the Business Improvement District.
Ma'am,
Now, since I
ma'am,
can't at the public
that's
hearing.
been on the agenda, and our rules clearly state that
Okay,
today
well then
you
I'll
speak
talk
on
about the,
non-agenda.
state that in your rules. That is not what he said at all.
that is true,
Sir.
that was not stated in your rules, but I will just talk about the complaint then, and there is a regulation, since I cannot speak about this, and I won't be able to at the public hearing either, but according to regulation, government regulation, government matters and officials involved in government cannot participate in items that they have a financial interest in, which is determined by, according to Regulation 5 CFR Section 2635.403A, that financial interest is defined as a service with or without compensation as an officer or director of a nonprofit entity, since the financial interests of the nonprofit entity are imputed to the employee. Thus, federal employees serving on nonprofit boards must sometimes disqualify themselves from participation in government matters or seek a waiver of disqualification. This conflict of interest may be eliminated if employees divest themselves of disqualifying financial interests, for example, by resigning on the board of the nonprofit organization. In addition, a nonprofit may require employees to divest themselves of disqualifying financial interests by forcing the employees to resign from the board. A nonprofit may do so if it determines that the conflict of interest exists between serving on the board and performing the employee's governmental duties, which I feel like should be extended to the constituents of downtown that I guess are not allowed to speak at this public hearing because they're not property owners, even though this would be put down to the small business that I am representing now, but also any small businesses in the Chattanooga downtown area that would be included in the improvement district, and also by ones that are wishing to do so in the future. So I also would like to say that it's interesting that in the business improvement district, and this is something that is stipulated in the stuff that has been put out, but greater value is put on votes from people who says it will pay more for it. Considering that Wise publicly stated his opposition per bid derived from his inability to pass down these costs to his tenants, that to me seems like the people that are paying
Thank you
those
very much
costs.
for your comments.
I just want to clarify something. My name is Keely Crew, and I own Area 61 Gallery, and I'm about to move into the McClellan building, tripling my rent from the south side after 8.5 years of supporting local artists in the Chattanooga area by giving them a place to show and sell their work while they're not out of town. So I was curious. I'm tripling my rent. For the first time, I've negotiated 3 leases with areas, inside the West Village, the Clemens Building, and now the McClellan. And the leases all have standard language now about you will pay a portion of your taxes from the city, part of the building insurance and things like that, which was all new from my, used to I paid rent based on my lease, and I paid all my utilities and everything separately. But now I have to share in part of my building taxes and the building's insurance taxes, $100 a parking space. I have to cover payroll, which I was planning to hire some employees, but I may not be able to do that. But I can't take the artists off my taxes. They're not my children, and I can't deduct them from my taxes. But I am supporting local arts in Chattanooga by having a place for them to show and sell their work. And this time I have 30 local artists to be there. This district, I want to know if I can speak at the public hearing. I just learned that you can't speak at the public hearing if you're not a building owner or property owner. I worked at the Tennessee Aquarium in 1992, the first year of membership. I worked for Unum in corporate marketing. I worked for the Johnson Group ad agency. I worked for the Walden Club. I've worked in Chattanooga in the downtown area since 1986. And now I'm own my own business, and it's mainly, I'm putting my retirement in to help local artists, which the city is the city of creators, and Chattanooga creates. And that's part of our banner, which the mayor actually gave us permission to use as a banner on our exterior signage of our building, as Chattanooga is a city of creators. So I just wonder, I don't understand why I don't have an opportunity to speak about a business improvement district, because I don't own a building, but I'm going to be fully affected by that. And a lot of the things that I see added in what they're improving upon is I've watched the city redo their cobblestones at every single intersection at least 3 times. I've seen trees uprooted and replanted all along. And like I said, I blazed the south side for 8.5 years. We were one of the first businesses next to Bluegrass Grill. And I'm so pro downtown Chattanooga, and I'm so pro River City and the things that everybody seems to do. But all these things that are coming in here don't seem like things. If it's safety, which is promoted, and everything that's promoted in the news is about public safety, moving the homeless along, and beautification. The downtown city center is already beautiful. When I lived on the south side, all of these things were challenges that I had on the south side when I was working there. And I don't understand why the business improvement district has to have just one section of town, because these are citywide challenges. I feel like that.
Thank you very much for your comments.
All right. Well, can I talk at the public hearing?
Ma'am, if we can address that question after the meeting, but
Okay.
right now your time is up.
I know. Thanks.
You're welcome. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak?
Okay, so my name's Blake, and I live downtown.
Ma'am,
Yes.
just this gentleman here.
Okay.
No, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Anyway, and so I'm here to talk in general about business improvement districts, since I can't talk about the specific one. So what I've done in my research, and I want to relay this to everyone here, is most often these districts are implemented on places that don't have services provided through the city. The city does not offer the services.
Ma'am, if you're referring to the business improvement district, once again,
I'm
that's
talking
been-
about them in general and not
No,
about
ma'am,
the
no,
specific
not
one.
not even in general. It's
So.
We spoke about the Business Improvement District. We've said in the beginning that you cannot speak on non-agenda items. That item was on the agenda, so.
So you're telling me right now that even though I'm talking about business improvement districts in
Yes, ma'am, that's
general,
exactly what I'm telling you.
even, okay, that's not the agenda item specifically. The agenda item
Ma'am, I'm not going to
specifically
debate
says
you
it.
with this.
Okay, well, thank
Business-
you. I just wanted to clarify that you're silencing my voice on this, but I appreciate it.
I'll be happy to
Thank
speak
you.
with you after the meeting. Sir, would you like to speak now?
Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Everybody having a good day? I hope so.
How you doing, sir?
I've been sitting out here, you know I've been coming down here and I've been talking about public speaking and getting up and speaking and having 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever. And we have a lot of problems with communicating with you guys. I think it's pretty
Name,
clear.
even though we know you.
Oh.
Please state your name for the record.
Thank you very much, Rick.
You're very
Rick-
welcome, sir.
Richard, Rick Carpenter. I'd like to say hello to my family and friends in the audience and listening wherever. I would like to know, because we've just had this problem with communicating with you, and these are a younger bunch of groups here. These not quite millennials, but kind of. And you're going to have to start explaining things to them. One thing I'd like to have the city attorney do is get a definition ready for disparaging next week. And let us know what dictionary you're operating out of. Is it the Black Law Dictionary? Is it the Webster? No, I'm absolutely serious, because these meanings vary widely. And I understand, you know, I'm not going to try to get you all down. I want everybody to understand, because the words don't always mean the same. And sometimes the stuff you guys say is like language from Mars. It's just not understandable, especially if you're trying to read along and this thing's just, you know, a paragraph worth of words and it's just one long sentence. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So maybe next week, if you can come in and have a definition for us of what the heck is being meant by disparaging, because you could be taking what I'm saying to you right now as disparaging, depending on how you interpret it. I'm not trying to be disparaging. I want us to go forth, and I want us to be able to communicate. And I can see that's not happening here. You have a young group of audience that the young gentleman had to stand up and shout at you to be quiet. This is our 3 minutes, and I understand there's some questions being asked you, and it's very frustrating not to be able to answer the questions right off the rip. Trust me, when my wife and I talk, if I can't answer her questions right off the rip, it's very frustrating. I get all that. But this is our 3 minutes to speak. You've dropped it from 5, then you bolstered it to 2, and it's 3 minutes here for people to say something. And it's very important that they listen, and that you listen, and that when somebody is speaking, that they be heard. So that's one. Also, the other thing I was hoping is I don't see Chief Roddy here. And there seems to be a lot of complaints about the Chattanooga Police Department. And boy, gosh, I sure like to ask him a couple questions about a specific officer, which I have in mind right now, which I've been looking for like 2 months to see him down here. And I think he should be down here, especially with you guys needing to ask a question. So maybe if we can invite him somehow. I don't want to be disparaging that he can't come. I would, you know, maybe a formal invitation, a nice little card or something to invite Chief Roddy down to the Chattanooga City Council meeting. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have a good evening also. Is there anybody else?
Yes, my name is Edward, and I would like to apologize for speaking out of turn. And I would like to ask the city attorney to please restate the rules that he read earlier to me.
Sir, I need to know your names for the record.
Edward Hewitt, Hewitt.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Specifically, those rules, sir, are that at the end of each council meeting, the chair will recognize members of the public that wish to address the council. Each speaker wishing to address can only be recognized at the microphone where you are right now. You can't have more than 3 minutes to speak. You have to address the council only upon matters within their legislative and quasi-judicial authority. You can't use vulgar, obscene language, nor use the floor to personally attack or personally denigrate others. That's the requirement in the rule. You can't be recognized to speak on any matter more than twice in a 30-day time period. And likewise, if there is one rule I didn't read before, that persons wishing to address the council may only do so once during a council day, either at the agenda session, at a committee meeting, or at the council business meeting. And the purpose for this opportunity to speak is only for those items which are on the non-agenda of the council.
So you clearly added that last bit in there, and you did not say that,
Sir,
in the beginning.
this is not a debate. If you have something you want to say, we want to hear it,
No,
but you're not going
I am
to
trying
go
to
back and forth with
understand,
my counsel.
Sir,
I'm
I'm
just
trying to
telling him the
understand.
rule as I'm telling you. Sit down.
Sir, I am trying to understand, as someone who is a young man, that I went to college, I have a degree, I'm not dumb. But when you give me the rules and you tell me in these rules that there's no mention of not being able to talk about these things, and somebody that I agree with and I support gets up here to talk to you about something that I also care deeply about, and you tell them that they can't speak about it because of some arbitrary rule that you pulled out of your butt. And I don't know what
Sir,
you want from me.
that I consider an inappropriate term, and you're going to have so
All
many
right.
opportunities for that.
Thank you for your time. I was just trying to clarify
Sure.
about, rules.
I'm glad you are. Thank you, sir. Counsel, what's your pleasure? We are adjourned.